Welcome, Dadas all over Kenya. We welcome you to our show. Thank you for watching us. We always are honored to have you watch us. Now, today we want to talk about how to turn lemon into lemonade. Sometimes in life, we are served serious lemons, very bitter ones. And we must learn how to take those circumstances and turn them around and make lemonade. And that sounds figurative, but it's literally how to turn your life from a victim to a victor. I want to welcome Martha.
Hi.
Martha, how are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. I'm glad to be on this show.
Thank you so much. Martha, please introduce yourself, because I don't want to undermine your work and your experiences in life. So what would you like us to know about yourself?
My name's Martha Nthoki Mburu. I'm 49 years old and basically just a happy-go-lucky person these days.
Okay. You're 49 years old. You don't look a day after 20. This is very unfair. Can you tell us what your beauty regime is? I'm sure everybody wants to know. Is it that you sleep a lot, or you eat, or do you use certain beauty products, or what? How do you do this?
I actually have a no-stress policy.
No stress.
Anybody or anything giving me stress, I'm allergic to it. So I don't allow stress into my life.
That's the way you keep young? Huh?
That's the way I keep young and happy.
You're very welcome to Dada's.
Thank you.
Now, you don't look anything like a victim at all. You look very much like a victor. I want you to start off by asking, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So basically, we grew up in a family that was full of creatives. I would say that, and this is what I call the gift of the tribe, because it stemmed far back to our ancestors. So our grandparents, my aunties and uncles from both sides, my mom and dad, were very, very creative. Okay. And that was, we were, comedians. The whole family would crack jokes and would be laughing away. Okay. So comedy is a gift of the tribe for us. Okay. We would sing, always as a family or as families. We would dance and we would act. Okay. And I did grow up in a family that loved reading.
Oh, good for you.
Oh, yes. I must say I really totally appreciate my parents for that, because we even have a really big library at our home. Out of the reading that our parents gave us, I believe it was a gift. Okay. And I must say that it created a culture in all of us, because as much as our parents were elders in the church or pastors, the reading was vast. All different genres, from sci-fi to Nostradamus and astrology. So we grew up very vast in the kind of reading that we did. Okay. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yes.
So you enjoyed growing up and you had a dream. What was your dream?
My dream eventually was to become a youth pastor or to work with children. Okay. And this was from doing a lot of counselling with the Word of Life camps that were, so amazing those days. Okay. And I noticed that teenagers especially had a lot of issues with drugs and with, just issues that they were trying to tackle with their parents, but their parents could not understand them. And I really wanted to become a youth pastor.
Okay. What happened to your dream of becoming a youth pastor?
Well, I must say at the time, my parents discouraged me.
It's funny because they were elders in church.
Yes.
Why would they not encourage you to become a youth pastor?
My parents were elders in church, but were not full-time ministers.
Oh, they were associates.
They were associates. Okay. My mother was a full-time banker with Barclays Bank, and my father was a full-time accountant with Telkom Kenya. Or Posta is what they called it those days. Okay. Yes. So they were discouraged at the salaries that pastors got. Oh. Yes, and they were too low.
I'm telling you how sad it is, because today things have really changed.
Today things have really turned around. Yeah. Yes, they really have turned around. If we had seen it back then, most probably I'd have gotten the support that I really needed.
Yeah, but then
they could see me starving and always coming to them for money to feed my family, even if it was noble to actually be in church and serve God. Okay. Yes.
So they kind of pushed you towards something different. So what did you end up doing?
I ended up picking up what was the easiest to do, which for me was being a travel consultant So I became a travel agent for Let's Go Travel.
Okay.
And I did secretarial. And I became a secretary for the Key International. They call it Key International, but then it was the International Montessori School.
Okay. Do you know, it's so funny when you talk about a travel agent today, because today you can book your flights seated in your sitting room.
That's true.
What did a travel agent do in those days? Just tell our viewers, because many of them are probably wondering, a travel agent, what is that? You know, we just go online and we book our tickets. What does a travel agent do?
We had different offices, and my office was at the mall. The mall had just been built, so I was in the new office back then. Okay. And what would happen is travelers would call for holidays, basically a holiday package or airline tickets. And we would make sure we give them a package. Airline tickets, transfers, let's say when they get to Mombasa, to the hotel. And then if it's Masai Mara, they would go around on the tours. So that is what we would do. Others wanted day tours, just to go to the Ngong Hills for a day or to Longonot for a day. Those we call them day tours. Okay. But I was also doing something slightly different. I was booking people on the cruise ships.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. Even there.
Yes, that was my mandate,
Okay.
to book travelers on cruise ships.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So, when did you get married? How did you get married? Because I know everybody goes to college, gets a job, and then gets married. What happened?
Well, I ended up marrying my best friend, so to speak. And he was a guy from Daystar University, where my two older sisters were. So it wasn't somebody new. It was somebody who I'd known for 7 years here in Nairobi. And the joke always was that he would tell my sisters that, you know what, I'm not going to marry any of the two of you. I'm going to marry the youngest one who's at home. And that was me. Okay. I didn't even know him then, or that this was the chatter that was going on. And they would be there like, but Martha, never comes out, has never met you. We'll see how you're going to end up marrying her. But because he was a Christian doing missions with my sisters, especially for Youth for Christ, so they would go around to Eldoret or to different parts of the country, and then come back to Nairobi. And he started making sure every time he dropped off my sister, he would be at home for tea. And that way he was mingling with my parents. He got to know me. And that was how we started the friendship.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So when did you get married? And, you told me you have 2 children.
Yes.
What happened? How did that happen?
So he had a business at the coast. And I always wanted to work outside of Nairobi. I'm that person who's always pretty restless. So when he said he was, doing business now in Malindi, I was there like, I'd love to come and join you, okay? And somehow we had started dating, because those are the days of Green Corner.
Green Corner. They'll never know what the days of Green Corner, what that means. I tell you, they'll never know. They were the days of Green Corner.
They were the days of Green Corner. And just to emphasize, Green Corner had the best Black Forest and White Forest cake.
Even
that
then.
was why it was so popular and so famous. So every time he came to Nairobi, he made sure he took me to Green Corner, okay, for a coffee. And then when he was away in Malindi, he would just call me. And one day I said, you know what? Actually, I was going through a heartbreak from my ex-boyfriend, whom my parents refused us to get married for various reasons. And I just needed a change of scenery. I needed to move. And the only safe person I could move out and live nearby, was my ex-husband, Simon. And, he was there like, come to the coast, live with us. I'll get you a house, and then I'm opening a new supermarket. You can run it, because he was already running a greengrocer at the time in Watamu.
Okay, so off you go.
Yes.
Now you're married.
Well, okay, so we dated for a year, and then set a date for our wedding a year after we set the date.
Okay.
So we're married in 2 years, basically.
And then you had 2 children.
Then we had 2 children. A boy and a girl, which is what I prayed for. And I thank God that was what he gave me, a girl first and then a boy. And they're all grown up right now.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mother, so far everything sounds wonderful. It's all going very well. you are running your own business. You are married to the sweetheart of your life. You are married to somebody you know. You have 2 children. How did things turn around? What happened? How did it all start to go wrong?
I'm an interesting sort of person because unlike women who don't say what they want in a marriage, for me, I always stated what I wanted in a marriage. And I had stated that for the first 10 years, we were going to have the children and we were going to build the businesses that we had, which were about 6 overall. And then from there, I was going to have my career take off, or the things that I wanted to do in life take off, which was a diploma in human resources, a diploma in Italian, things like that. And that was where actually the major problems began, because I started seeing insecurities in my husband that I'd never seen before. And okay, now I see them for what they were, insecurities, and that when we worked together, because we ran the businesses together, you know, hand in hand, and we had built quite an empire, I must say. We were known as the big business people in Watamu. So for me, it was, I needed to move to the next level, but for him, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And actually the fights and the quarrels started right there and then.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so basically at that point you decided, this thing is going well, but I need now to do something for myself. I've had 2 children, I've helped you we've built something together, but I would like to go back to school.
Yes.
And then his response was what?
His response was, no, we've been married long enough now for you to just follow my lead.
Okay.
And for you to just do as I say. And I said, no, if I end up doing as you say, right, then we're going to actually have issues down the line, because I'm going to grow into a bitter old woman if I don't fulfill the dreams of what I feel in my heart that I should be doing.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happened? How did it all, so obviously, since you're seated here, you decided you were not going to be, did you go back to school?
I did go back to school.
Okay.
I did go back to school.
Okay.
I started my diploma course in Italian. I started my diploma course in human resources with the Kenya Institute of Management, the branch in Malindi. And, you know, I was totally enjoying it. But he would make sure that that I'm frustrated. So he'd come home early from work and determine that, I'm not home early enough to do homework with the kids. Okay, because Watamu was far away. So basically, when we worked in Watamu and lived in Malindi town, we'd get home around 8 p.m. So for him to be home at 6 in the afternoon, you know, I would know that he's, you know, it's witch hunting. That's how I was feeling, but I was determined. I was determined to forge on, because I had done my part of the bargain.
Yes, you had. After 10 years, you were ready now to begin doing you.
Yes, we had lawyer employees, totaling up to 26. We had 6 running businesses, and the businesses were running very, very well.
Okay.
Yes.
So the marriage did come to an end.
The marriage did come to an end. We ended up filing for divorce, and he ended up with the children, with custody with the children. And it wasn't from the law courts. For me, I felt like it was custody because he had the money.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. So you then went, now you were on your own.
Yes.
Did you have to go to work? What happened after that?
After that, I took a year to work in Malindi. And then I decided I really needed a fresh start. So I moved to Nairobi. By then, my children had also been moved to Nairobi, and they were staying with my mother-in-law in Karen. Okay. So I felt that I'd also be nearer to my children, and when I do get a chance to see them, I'll be around the corner. Okay. So it was a good move. I got a job with an NGO as assistant operations manager after finishing my diploma in human resources.
So it paid off.
Yes, it did. It did. I moved my credits to Nairobi, and I graduated from here. Okay. Yes.
Do you sometimes wonder what would have happened had you just stayed on? Like, was it worth the fight?
If I had stayed on, like you said earlier, I would have been or ended up as a bitter old woman, because your dreams and ambitions are yours. God has given them to you. And when you try and just give them up because of somebody else who's already fulfilling theirs, right, you will end up resenting them. So either way, it wasn't going to end up well.
Okay. Looking back, as you said before, a deal is a deal. A deal was made, a deal was broken. But many people would probably say, you know, for the sake of the children, Martha, you should have stayed on. It wasn't worth it. What would you say to them?
I'd say to them that their children know, because my marriage ended up being abusive. And, you know, I was one of those women who would go to the police station for P3s and have a case running for almost a year. So I would say that staying on also because of the children want you to have peace. The children want you to move on. The children recognize there's a problem. And I was trying to hang on so that I could protect the children. And one day after the fights, my daughter actually looked at me. She was 7 years old. And she said, "Mommy, can't you get another man to marry you? Daddy is going to kill you one of these days." And I said, "But I've been hanging on. I've been staying here because of you." And she said, "But you won't be of any use to us if you die." That was my wake-up call. Totally. And honestly, I was in tears because this is a 7-year-old. It was like an angel was speaking through her. But then I realized that they notice and they see these things. So staying on wasn't going to build them. It was actually going to give them the wrong impression of what a happy marriage should be, and most probably damage them in the end.
So you come to Nairobi. Are you able to see your children? Were you able to see your children? You got a job. Were you able to, were you able to pick yourself up and sort of, go on?
I wasn't able to see my children. I wasn't able to do, the usual things that parents do, visiting days for school or things like that, for a good 10 years. They kept or managed to keep the children away from me for 10 years. Every time I would try to see my children, because I would try. And in Nairobi, I had, counseling group. We called it a counseling group. We also called it a Bible study group, because this is the group of 12 women that were going through separation and divorce. So we were each other's support system. And I remember we would hear the children are with my sister-in-law in Gong, and would go up in 2 cars and try and steal the children from Gong. We were willing to do anything to get the children. But none of those things worked. And now we laugh about it because we can see that God had a good plan. In the end, the children grew up and decided who they wanted to be with over the holidays.
Okay.
Yes.
So you were able to see them when they made their own choices?
Yes.
At least they would come to you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, from 2015, you began a whole new career. You started writing a book or so. How did you begin? It's almost like you began to go back to your own creative self.
Well, what happened was, during the years I call them the years of healing, which was when I didn't have my children, when I had the loneliness, when I had the anger and the bitterness, over a divorce. What happened was I had to forgive. And out of forgiveness came my healing, or started my total healing. I forgave my in-laws, I forgave my husband, and I would write to them text messages and tell them, "You know what? After all you've done to me, I forgive you." And I found a new lease in that forgiveness. So from 2013, I actually quit a job that was paying me, a good salary, actually. I quit to start writing. I felt the Lord was calling me to tell stories that would inspire men and women, that out of being a victim, you can become a victor, that God's plan for you doesn't stop because you were wounded, that you can heal and actually start to heal others.
Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing. So tell us a bit about this book, The Mistress. It's funny because I would have expected you, Mother, to write a book, with sort of your story and then with with nice scriptures in it. But this is it's a book about, it's a novella. This book is a novella, and it's called The Mistress. Why, I expected you to write books about, healing, the power of healing and forgiveness. Why would you write a novella?
Okay, so I felt like we call it fiction, but fiction usually partly is the truth of what a person has gone through. So for most people who pick in between the lines, when they saw The Mistress, they knew I was talking about my ex-husband's mistress, because that was how that had started.
Okay.
And he had been with her 2 years before I ever found out that, that they were having an affair.
Okay.
And he ended up marrying her.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Oh, is that what this book is about?
So,
I'm sorry, I haven't finished the book, but it has its moments. So tell us a bit about what's in the book.
So The Mistress.
I mean, I thought, so you chose to tell the story, but in a fiction.
In a fictional, funny,
In a fictional,
family drama way.
Family drama way.
And very Kenyan way.
Okay.
Very Kenyan way.
Okay.
That everybody can relate to the story. Okay, because the average mistress isn't what most people think of. But then the results are usually the same. She's ruining families.
Okay, but how is the average mistress? Is it?
The average mistress is looking for money.
Okay.
She comes in most of the times when the man has made money. Before that, she really has no use for him. And that's why it hurts the first wife so much, because the first wife is the one who has built the home and gone through the pain of building what they have. Yeah. Yes.
So this,
and I have a very interesting cover as well.
Yes. The cover, I don't know, I think I'll kind of, the cover is an interesting cover.
Yes, it's the paraphernalia of the mistress.
Yes, no, actually it's paraphernalia.
Thank you for that.
It's paraphernalia.
Yes.
The shiny shoes, the seductive underwear and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, the story was about this mistress. Tell us a bit about the story of Wambui.
Wambui with Ben, is a very beautiful lady. Or so she has become when she's, matured into, working age and all that. But she wasn't always a mistress, or she wasn't always high-profile men for money. Wambui's story is tragic in terms of her being abused when her parents died, right? So her uncle, who's left for the inheritance, ends up abusing her at a young age. And she has this mistrust and rejection and wants revenge, on her uncle. And so she has no feelings for men, After this abuse, she just decided, okay, men can abuse me, then I'm going to do the same.
When you wrote this book, and I know, this is my copy, wonderful. When you wrote this book, and it's out there, what feedback have you gotten?
I've gotten very positive feedback. I did launch it with the Nairobi Baptist pastor, Omusula.
Okay.
He's the one who officiated my launch. But because it was for Christians and non-Christians. For Christians, most of them have rededicated their life to Christ, because they've seen that no matter what we do in this life, chasing after money or chasing after the things of this world are not going to lead you anywhere, okay? And what happens is, because there's a tragic ending to this story or to the way we live our life, many have had to question, am I living my life in the correct way? Am I living my life in a way that even my children would like to emulate? Or am I going to leave scars that my children are going to have to pick up? Yes.
Have any mistresses reached out to you to tell you how cruel you are, or to tell you that you are right?
No, I wouldn't say that has happened.
No mistresses yet?
No.
Okay.
And most probably they changed their ways.
Yes,
they read my book.
I hope they've changed their ways after they've read your book at the end.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much, Martha. We're going into a break. We'll be inviting Cheryl, the counselor, to come and talk about the journey from victim to victor. Don't go too far. Welcome back. Today we are talking about how to turn lemons to lemonade, or how to turn your story from being a victim to a victor. And we are joined by Cheryl. Cheryl, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Cheryl Mwangi. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession.
Okay.
Yes.
What does a counselor psychologist do?
We deal with all manner of issues that affect us in the society, but basically we call it talk therapy.
Okay.
So client comes with the issues that they present, and with the knowledge and the experience that one has, you're able to help them to journey through and tackle their issues.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds interesting. Now, do you find many people are victims of circumstances in their own lives?
Very many, especially in our society and our African society. And most of them actually don't consider themselves victims, because some of these issues that we go through in life, we have kind of accepted them. It's part of us. And that is why when you go through a certain experience and you go to your friends or family, they always tell you,
Vumilia.
And you're not the first one, and you want to be the last one. So instead of them actually empathizing with you, because every issue that someone goes through is different. What mother went through in her marriage is so different. Even if the abuses were there, it is different from what someone else went through. So we need to start understanding, accepting, supporting people as they present their issues as individuals, and not just to make it look like it is the norm, because that is what we have done as a society.
Okay.
Yes.
I think as a society as well, and this one I want to ask Martha, isn't it were people upset that you stood up for your rights? I don't know, I don't want to say stood up for your rights, but when you began to say, we had a deal, and a deal is a deal, and I have to go back to school, did you find that many people are like, why are you making a big deal? Maybe you should not make such a big deal out of this. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Did you get that reaction?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, because we come from the society where the man is always right. So that means that whatever opinion you have as a woman, if you want to keep your marriage, should come second, or you should just go ahead, to keep the peace in the home. But I rocked the boat. And I realized that it takes courage to speak and to say what you want and what you really want in life. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
But there's a price to be paid.
And the price is big.
Yeah, the price, when you think about it, is there, and I know I keep asking this question, do you think that the price is worth it? Now looking back, now you have a great deal of 2020 vision. You can look back and say, it was worth it. Would you say for me it was worth it?
I would say absolutely yes. For me it was worth it. Was it worth the pain and the tears and the drama in court and all those awful things? And the money we spent on lawyers? No, that was not worth it. In fact, I wish I had done other things with that kind of money. But I must say that it was worth it just to be heard. It was worth it to feel that I had done myself justice as a person, because I felt that I could live with myself for being truthful. And I felt like I had set a good example to my children to stand up for themselves.
Cheryl, the story of being a victim is a story where people do things to you. Mm-hmm. So in the case of Martha, there was a deal. It was not written, of course, it was not written in stone. But the deal was, once I got our marriage up and running and I got our children up and running, I would then go back and do me. Yeah, I would be able to go back to school, I'd be able to have a career. But that didn't happen. And therefore, there was a push and pull. There was a lot of friction as she was fighting for her rights. Many people never even get to the point where they fight for anything. Many people just fold up and give up. What would you say to that?
Let me start by talking about the marriage aspect. When two people get into marriage, like what mother shared, she had her own dreams. She had her own visions. She felt like she had a purpose. And that's what we are told even in the Bible. No, God created all of us with a purpose. And her husband, he was living his dream. He had accomplished probably a percentage of what he really wanted to accomplish at that particular time. So we enter this marriage and we agree. So I'll do this for this number of years, and then I go fulfill my purpose.
And that happens a lot.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so along the way, something always happens. I don't know what happens. And when you get into the marriage, that you stop being an individual. You lose your individuality. And people forget that what brought the two of you was the relationship. You are your own person, he was his own person. So when now you start trying to fight for your right, like what she did, then she's faced with
a lot of resistance.
Resistance.
Yes.
Because now this man will feel like, I have given you basically everything. So what are you going to do in school? What do you want to do extra that I haven't? And the fact that in our African society, sorry to say so, but our African men feel like, you have a shelter, you have a food, you have clothes, and your children are going to school, so what more do you want? It's like that is what people got into marriage for: food, clothing, and shelter. And it's unfortunate because that is not the reality.
Yeah.
You see, because as a person, you also want to follow your dreams. And most women are not allowed to do that. At some point, most men back up on the promises that they made, and you're not allowed to follow your dreams. She was strong enough. She decided to
follow she was very, very strong.
Yes.
That she decided to follow her dream. I also wanted to ask you about the idea of a mistress. She said it very well. When a man has money, is doing well, has been well taken care of, you've built something together, enter the mistress. The mistress phenomena. I think in Kenya nowadays, are they called slay queens, or I don't know what they're called. What are they called?
Side chicks.
Side chicks, a side chick. There's always a side chick who comes in, and a slay queen, I don't know what. And they come in and they are interested in the money. Now, for me, I think my question to you will be different from Mother. Why is a slay queen so attractive to a man when he has money?
Pauline, I will also put it this way, and not just money. A married man with money.
Yes, a married man with
they're
money.
the most attractive ones
Yes.
to the slay queens, And I think most of the ones that I have talked to, their argument is always that this is a responsible person. He has it all together. So it is just a means to an end, I give him what he wants, and he gives me what I want. Because for most of them, it is like a stepping stone to something.
Yeah.
So they will go out of their way to do all manner of things so that this person can feed into their desires, into their interests. Be it a business they want him to put for them. Is it maintain their lifestyles? It is always something out, they're all to get something out of this particular person. And it's unfortunately because most men fall for that, thinking that now I am at this age in life, I don't look maybe more attractive, I am growing old, and this 20-something girl comes along, and she's all praising you, you're this handsome man and you have gray hair. Maybe your wife keeps pointing out nowadays you're getting gray hair.
And you're fat.
I know. And this
you have a pot.
Yeah.
All of a sudden your wife is telling you. And this one I'll ask Mother. Mother, your experience with being married, the reason I'm asking this is because it's part of the book. I think for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the attraction may not even be physical. It could be that the slay queen has no pushback. Unlike you, who pushes back a lot, and also you don't adore the man because you came from somewhere with him. You have seen him grow to become the man he is. The slay queen adores him, gives him a certain sense of adoration. The mistress has no pushback, and therefore becomes more attractive than the real wife. Why? The real wife is always asking questions. Why are you late? What are we going to do about this? What are we, While the side chick has no pushback. She has no questions. And she makes the environment so wonderful that the man just wants to stay there. What would you say to that?
I think for me, a lot of what she has said is very, very true. That the man always wants excitement. But what has been an interesting discovery for me,
especially as you researched for your book,
especially as I researched, was most men go for the mistress who was your age when they married her.
Oh.
So like she was 24. I was married when I was 24.
Oh, I see.
So there's the age factor.
Oh, are they reclaiming their youth? Are they going back to their youth with the mistress?
I think according to most men's minds is, a younger person will buy him time, to do his thing. Buy him time, and all she's asking for is things.
Yeah, money.
Yes, that's what's exciting her. So she doesn't really get to see who this person is, because rarely do they also put their assets in these mistresses' names,
Yes.
okay, or really give them anything tangible, So I think the age factor is a big thing.
Okay. And the repercussions of having a mistress for you, I think maybe what you didn't, today you think about it. Besides asking to go back to school and everything, what repercussions did it have on your marriage, the mistress?
I would say there was a lot of misunderstandings, and you keep wondering where they're coming from.
Yes.
Okay, because my husband wasn't a violent person. Okay, he could be angry and break things, but when it turned to physical abuse, I totally knew there was something wrong, or someone who's pushing him to do these things. And sure enough, it was the mistress who was pushing him to ruin our marriage, right? Be always angry at me, okay, so that he would leave me for her. And that's a bitter pill to swallow, that some young person, would have the audacity to actually, feel that they're going to own your marriage, that they're going to own your marriage and everything in it, okay? Yeah. Because she wanted plus the property and everything. And for me, that was why I was there. Like, the mistress is not a fair person. It's not a fair game that they bring to the table. Yeah. Yes.
I think, I wanted to ask Cheryl. Cheryl, how do you turn a story from being a victim to a victor? Because you have to do certain things. When you wake up one day and you find yourself like she found herself in an unfair, the game that is being played, it's a dirty game. How do you turn that story around? What have you seen in your day?
Before I go to that, let me add on to what Mother has said about the mistresses and the men. And most men in the journey that I started, I have found out that it starts at around midlife crisis. So that is the excuse that they give, most of them. And like she said, the fear of, I'm growing old, I'm losing myself. And this person pops in and, makes you feel young. But at what expense? At the expense of your family. A marriage, children, people that you have worked with.
Businesses,
you destroy all that just because of what? A little pleasure. And it's not that most of these men are not getting that at home, Yeah. It is, I think it's just a way of them trying to redefine themselves.
But I tell you, Cheryl, she's just said something really key that I had never noticed. She said that for most of the men, she's noticed that they actually want to it's like reboot
Yes.
and start again.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
With almost the same chick, the same age.
Yes.
So they're being very selfish. They are going back to when they married you.
Yes.
But they've left you behind.
Exactly. And this is after married you at that age,
Yes.
you having children for him. Of course, your body has changed on all manner of ways. And interesting, the man never changes that much as a
Well,
woman.
he doesn't have children, does he?
Exactly. So when they go out there, this chick has the waist that, the wife had when they were married, their body structure is maintained because of their age. Of course, they're young. So he tends to now come, and that is the thing I keep saying about married men. When you are having an affair outside there, it has absolutely nothing to do with your wife. So don't come and project your anger and resentment on whatever it is that you're feeling on your wife. And that's what most of them do. You go, get happy outside there, come home, frustrate the wife. You deny her the money. You start feeling like she's not talking to you the same way the other lady was talking.
I know, because you're having other experiences. Now you want your wife to become like the mistress. So you start telling her. I mean, I have had people tell me that the husband will say things like, "You don't know how I'm treated well out there." I'm like, and the lady was saying, I don't care how you are treated out there. The reason you know is because you are having things happening out there.
Exactly.
Even I should be having my own side gigs, and I would be coming and saying, you don't treat me the way I'm being treated
Exactly.
by the other person.
There's
You see,
comparison.
there's comparison.
Exactly. You know, and I keep saying it's really unfair, because if you've gotten to a point in marriage and you feel like it's not really working and you have found someone out there, how about you just come home and sit me down and tell me, you know what, honey, it's not working anymore. You go your way, me, I go my way. At that point, instead of dragging us along so many years, and then boom, you've moved in with someone else. And I'm left all alone, looking at the years that we're supposed to grow all together, alone. And, you know, I keep saying I will have so much respect for those men who will just come and tell you, point blank, it's not working. Let's cut our losses and move on.
Okay, can I throw a spanner in the works here? What about the man who comes and says, I have found a young lady and now I want to marry a second wife? I don't know whether there's a show for that. I should do a show called The Second Wife.
You should totally.
But the one who comes had a monogamous marriage,
Yes.
went to a church, made vows, monogamy, has a certificate, and then comes and after fooling around says, now I have married a second wife. What would you say to that one?
It is all dependent on that lady. If she's okay with that, then so be it. But if she's not okay with that, and this is the thing, when we were contracting, when we were getting married, it was a monogamous
Yes,
marriage.
it was,
You know,
which is what she was saying.
Exactly.
She said there was a contract. There was something that was agreed. So when we agreed, it was monogamy.
Yes.
Till death do us part.
Yes.
Now halfway, you now come and say, oh, you know, now I have found another person. We want to now be three. So you're saying if the lady accepts, it's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's dependent on the lady. But also, maybe another one will say, okay, since you want this one, how about I also get myself someone else?
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
most men will not agree to that.
Yes.
And, you know, and the men that I have talked to, they always say that as much as they cheat outside there, they don't imagine that they would one day find their wives or hear their wives are going out with someone else. It will literally kill them.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, shock on the world. Eh? So you are allowed to
Double
cheat.
standards.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So the wife is supposed to remain pure
Yes.
and
him.
holy for him.
Yes.
But he can run around.
Exactly.
Mother, I have a question. What if the man had come and said, I have found this new girl. She used to look like, she looks exactly like you when you were 24, before you became difficult. You became difficult and started going for diploma courses in HR. And she does everything I tell her. And I now want you to accept for her to be my second wife. What would be your feedback, your response?
I think that question did arise.
It arose.
That question did arise.
Oh dear.
And like she said, you know, it was very confusing at that point because our marriage did not start on, you know, on a monogamous, you know, platform, right? So for me, I had never imagined having second or third wives coming into the picture. But I really loved my husband and I really loved my children. I really loved my home. And I was willing, actually, to make a deal.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
You are.
that he brings her along, buys for her a property like he had done for me, and builds.
Oh my
Not
gosh. Really?
she throws me out and takes what's mine. That was where actually the biggest fight was.
But she wanted you out.
She wanted me out. She wanted me out. And I said, fine, men do this, right? They've done it many times before. But to be fair, get her property built for her. Okay?
So you are the ones she's talking about. You're willing to just make a deal
I was willing
for the
because
peace of the home.
plus there was a lot to lose.
Okay.
There was a lot to lose in terms of the monies and the properties and the businesses that we had established
Okay.
over the years.
Okay.
It was more to lose than just having a second wife who is good when I know she's the second wife,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I know the 1 or 2 children maybe they're going to have. That's usually better because I've seen polygamous marriages work. So I was willing. I was actually willing to compromise.
Let's go back to my question.
Yes.
How do you turn lemon to lemonade? What are some of the tools you need to be able to turn lemon to lemonade?
Like mother's case, one thing I always say, it is wholly dependent on the individual. There are those who completely give up and that is the end of them. But she had a choice to make. She had dreams that she wanted to achieve. And that's why I keep saying we should always have have goals of what we want in life, and we strictly live by them. Because if your whole dream was to get married to a rich man and have children and become a wife, then when such an incident happens, you completely lose yourself, But for mother's case, she chose to walk out. She chose to go and build herself. And the beauty part of it is that she got a strong support system. Yeah. The Bible study that she was going to. And these women were able to encourage her. They were able to journey together. They were able to listen. And that's the thing. Listen to her story, even if she wanted to tell it 100 times, over. They will sit and listen. And that is what we are losing as a society, the support system. Because we have gotten to a point where me, myself, and I don't want to associate with anyone. I don't want to air my dirty linen outside. I want people to see the perfect me when I leave the door. But inside, you're slowly dying. That is why most of the people nowadays are dying of depression. People are opting to commit suicide. And one of the things that I have read about suicide most of the time is that people just want the pain to go away. You get? But if people would embrace, the aspect of just going and talking, and that's why counseling right now is being demystified, and allowing you to come and talk to someone who is objective, who will have your best interests at heart, and journey with you to a point where you are able to stand on your 2 feet. So for me, it is about the person. And one of the things talking to mother was, I realized the aspect of forgiveness.
Yes.
Yes. And her having to learn to forgive her husband and the people who were involved in all the drama that she had in her marriage. And the thing that most people don't do nowadays, or don't actually acknowledge, that it starts by you forgiving yourself. Because most of the time, we tend to blame ourselves for the things that have happened. If I had done this, if I had not done, if I had not said this, if I had just lied, if I had, and we fail to forgive ourselves. So it needs to start by you forgiving and knowing how to forgive yourself, and putting your, marching your way forward and achieving your goals and your dreams. There's something else that mother said about her children, and the daughter, and what she said. And what we forget nowadays as parents is that our children are not the same as how we grew up. They're very clever, they're very attentive, and they have so much information around them. And so these young children were able to see what was going on. And that is where we are raising children who have unresolved trauma because of what they witnessed, what they had. And these are people that they both love, and they cannot choose any of them. So in the event that certain issues are happening in the house, how about you put those children into consideration? If they witness this trauma and this violence, how about you take them through a journey for them to be able to heal, so that they don't turn out to be abusers in future, so that they don't turn out thinking that this is what marriage is all about. So that they don't decide, I am never getting close to any man, or, this is how women behave. So for her, she had to make a choice. It was a tough choice for her. Leaving your children for all those years, it was not easy for her. So we have to make sacrifices and ask ourselves, are we going to be able to live with those decisions that we make, so that we get to achieve what it is that we want in life? And also recognizing that I am just one person. I am an individual. I have my dreams. I have my desires. And let's not lose that when we get into the marriage. And our African men, accept that about your wife. Let them grow. Because marriage is about you two growing old together in your own ways. If only they could allow that and not be threatened by the person that this woman is becoming, then I think most marriage will be able to last. Yes.
I want to end with you, Martha. Are we going to expect more books from you, or is this, because I know you've just written this one, where is it available? How can we find it? And I hope we're going to read more books.
This is available at Bookstop Yaya.
Yeah.
And it's going for 1,200
Okay.
at the store. If you order it directly from me, you get a signed autograph.
How do we find you?
Well, you can give people my email address. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I know you're on Facebook.
Yes.
What-
I'm
what
on
is-
Facebook as Nthoki Mburu,
Okay.
the Mistress.
Okay.
I do have a Facebook group.
Okay.
Yes,
And
and you're
do-
welcome to give your comments of what you know
Yeah.
what you think about the book.
Okay.
And I am writing more books.
Yes.
I have been writing 3 more books
Okay.
on different genres.
Okay.
The second book, Escape, is going to be a very deep book on addictions. And not our mainstream addictions, but addictions like when you're a workaholic and all these things, how it affects your family. When you're a
Still
shopaholic,
fiction or-
still fiction,
Okay,
still fiction.
still fiction.
Fiction
So
is
you're
always the
fiction.
safest way to
I
go.
know. So you're going to write a book, Escape?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and another one on family.
Okay.
Yes, so these will be the next books that I'll be launching soon.
We're so happy for you, Mother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have a parting shot? I think I'll give this to them. Do you have a parting shot for mistresses? Because I think there is a side for side chicks, mistresses, slave queens. Do you have a parting shot for them?
One of the things that I know is that as a woman, you always desire to have your family and your home. And right now, most of them are ruining other people's homes. They should be very, very careful because karma knows our addresses. And so, God forbid, when they get to that part of their lives in marriages and this happens, how are they going to deal with it at that particular time? So when you are there having fun with this person, try and consider also the people in his life. That is what I would ask of them. Yeah.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Martha. We are out of time. Get yourself a copy of The Mistress when and if you can. Go to Martha's Facebook page. And remember, if you are a side chick, a slave queen, what else are they called? Whatever else they are called, what comes around goes around. Have a great week. Baraka.